Hello, everybody. So, thanks for listening. I have yet another video that pretty much is going to show how this pandemic, COVID 19, has pretty much put African Americans in a vulnerable situation in terms of not only the healthcare issue and numbers of deaths, but also just wearing a mask. So, why coronavirus mask wearing orders leave Black Americans facing tough decisions? So this is by Kamala Newton, and I just want you to see, some people's experience or sets of experiences are different than others, and so be mindful that a lot of times what is accepted by one is not accepted by all. So the coronavirus pandemic has created a life and death dilemma for people all over the globe, particularly devastating one of the groups that is a protected class, which is it's the Black Americans and Black males, especially in America, wearing the mask for protection against COVID-19. Or should they wear it or go without it? And then also put themselves at further risk. So you're at risk either way. How? Simply to lower the risk of being perceived as a criminal. Should they? What do you think? So the specific quandary comes amid some key factors. Reports about Black people dying of the coronavirus at disproportionate high rates recommends that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention for all adults to now wear these masks in public and taking effect this week. In New York State have ordered that everyone must wear a mask in public. Social distance is not possible. If they can't social distance, then wearing a mask is something that will help protect you somewhat. Or will it? Does that apply to all? So that's all that leaves Black men, and many of whom have grown accustomed to monitoring their appearances so as to not look threatening in public, between a rock and a hard place. So the criminalization of Blackness has has spearheaded and spread during this pandemic, is exposed with the wearing of the mask. So Ashton Woods, co-founder and lead organization of Black Lives Matter Houston, tells that Yahoo Lifestyle is disheartening that the CDC and our leaders told us that we didn't need to wear masks in public, only to reverse course without providing masks and other personal protective equipment, PPE, to the general population. So now we have to wear whatever is available to us, as the data continues to show that Black people are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And adding insult to injury, Wood says that we have to contend with protecting ourselves, like not only from the virus, but from being accosted or treated as though they're criminals, of course, while possibly being forced into going into the extra mile of explaining intentions while shopping with a face mask on. And so the necessities of the statement made in the article only shines a light of what's actually going on. So hashtag shameful13abc.com content news B. So Toledo police attempt to assuage profiling fears of a Black man. And then we go down. The dilemma has been getting more and more attention in the press, including locally, such as Toledo, Ohio ABC affiliate YTVG addressed concerns. Activist Willie Knighton said that a Black man expressed fears of being racially profiled if we were to wear a homemade mask in public, explaining. So it is a lot to do with the relationship, of the lack of relationship that a lot of young Black males have with the police department. Still, said Toledo Police Chief George Crawl. I believe that's his name, the way I read it, excuse me. So if anyone should be religiously wearing a mask, it's the members of the African American community. And I encourage that. So he added that officers expecting to see people in all sorts of masks, that they go through diversity training. And so that's something a group of politicians are pushing for at the federal level. particularly in a response to the New York Governor Andrew Cuomo mask wearing executive orders just went into effect, where the local governments have police forces. They can enforce it, and they will enforce it, he told CNN. So Senator Kamala Harris on Friday joined forces with Senator Cory Booker and the other Democrats members, Senator Judiciary Committee, sending a letter to the Attorney General William Barr and the FBI Director Christopher Wray, urging federal law enforcement agencies to lay out anti-bias training for police officers. So they explained that the officers may increasingly encounter masked pedestrians as country begins to roll back lockdowns in the upcoming weeks. And so they have lifted, basically, they've kind of lifted some of the restrictions. So in order for people to go out, they have to do the social distancing. And if they can't, they need to wear the mask. And a lot of the public businesses that you're going to, they want you to wear a mask, or they won't allow you to come in and shop at some of the stores. And so with the ongoing public health emergency, it is more important than ever before now that the law enforcement build trust with the communities of color, people of color, primarily African Americans. And I'm adding that in there. It reads the letter reported by the Associated Press. So if communities of color, especially African American communities, feel at risk disproportionately or selective enforcement, that they avoid seeking help or adopting precautionary measures, recommend the CDC. This in turn could have a dire public health consequence. So this is Kamala Harris right here. So too many black men have been racially profiled, law enforcement for wearing masks, and it is led the letter to Attorney General Barr today, demanding bias training, guiding for all officers. And so if you just see somebody on the street with a mask, so that you won't assume that they're trying to commit a crime, or they're involved in some kind of wrongdoing, or they're going to harm someone simply because they're wearing a mask. So adding a fuel to the fire has been a wave of lockdown protests sweeping the nation, prompting some of the questions why visibly armed masked white men haven't received the same scrutiny. So one user tweeted, "I wonder what would happen if it was a group of black men in the back of a truck with guns and masks. Would the cops still just stand there?" And so I wonder what would happen if it was a group of black men in the back of a truck with guns and masks on. And so here you see a group of males, they're white, and they have guns, and they have masks on. Heavily armed individuals in the back of old military vehicle.
They don't like that, but it's too tough. They don't like that, but it's too tough.
So that's just gives you a clue if it was another group of people wearing masks but heavily armed. So going back to the earlier stage in the coronavirus crisis in March, YouTube video, now more than 280,000 views, showed a white police officer following two black men wearing surgical masks in an Illinois market called Walmart. In the video, and the officer had claimed that the city ordinance prevented people from wearing masks in public with a hand resting on his gun, and he followed them for a while until they had left the store, leaving the men to describe their encounter as very terrifying. So these kinds of interactions could have devastating public health effects as well, and consequences, as Harris pointed out. So, though black people account for 15% of Illinois' population, they make up 41% of the state's 274 coronavirus related deaths. So, after the video was posted and widely circulated, some black males admitted choosing muted colors or their bandana face masks and even using their cute dogs, biracial infants to be seen as less threatening while out in public wearing masks, as Michael Jeffries, Wesley's college sociologist whose work focuses on racism and culture, told Washington Post black folks can't even wear hooded sweatshirts without being accused of to being look like a criminal, and to issue guidance like this without any historical awareness, especially given recent shootings that we've had from people wearing hoodies or people looking like they are pulling something out of their pocket when it's a cell phone. You know, the recent traumatic history is going to be hard for people to follow this advice considering the consequences, which literally are deadly. And so this right here is going to be a video of a guy, and he's going to tell you of his experience in Wood Driver, Illinois. Coronavirus in Wood Driver, Illinois. So this is a pandemic that is happening. We're in right now. And so in Wood River, not Wood Driver, but Wood River, Illinois. Two black men are wearing surgical masks, recording themselves being followed by a police officer as they're in Walmart last month. So this is during the pandemic. And so you're going to hear from this guy what his experience.
So we were in Walmart and what's this, Wood River? And Wood River, Illinois. This officer right here behind us just followed us in the store. You just video. He said we can't video, but he just told us we were on body cam. He just followed us from outside, told us that we cannot wear masks. There's a presidential order, there's a state order, and he's following us right now to the store. We're being asked to leave for being safe. And this is what we're doing right now. I'm going to upload this as soon as we leave the store. This is the officer following us out of the store for absolutely no reason. If anybody knows, anybody's watching, the coronavirus is real. This guy is following us. There's more people, but he followed us from outside. From outside, he followed us all the way in the freaking store just to follow us out of the store. That's him.
We're wearing masks.
There he is.
We're getting kicked out of Walmart for wearing masks.
Are you serious?
Hey, so coronavirus is real. This police officer just put us out for wearing masks and trying to stay safe.
Hell no.
Fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Yeah, that's fucked up, right?
That is. That's fucking
Oh,
He say it's a city law. We can't
I am
wear
putting this on.
masks because
This
of
is
the
going
virus.
viral right now. I'm going to put this on every social media platform.
Now, what do you think of that? Because it brings sometimes the worst feelings out in people. But it says, I don't feel safe wearing a handkerchief or something else like that isn't clearly a protective mask covering my face to the store because I'm a black man living in this world and I want to stay alive. But I also want to stay alive. So, Aaron Thomas. Okay, so COVID-19 pandemic was initially thought to be a great equalizer and has fast proven to be anything but. And so, because that is what was stated, it was the great equalizer, and it's also being stated that there's more Hispanic people dying. And what we're saying, we're not saying that it isn't other people dying, it isn't other people of color dying, other minority groups dying. We're saying that there are large groups of, if it's like 8% of the black population and 10% of them dying, that's a large number of black people dying. That's what they're trying to say. And so it's a great number of black people that are being contracting it and that are being infected with this virus. And so it is imperative that we do whatever we can to stay safe, because a lot of it has to do with a lot of pre-existing, what they say, age, pre-existing illnesses, and if you have other issues. And a lot of people living in close quarters because they can't afford the high rents. So they live in maybe with more people living with them. There's more lower wage earners working together just to pay that, cover that rent. And then also you have people who are not in the greatest of health because of the food that they're eating, because they live in areas where they're not probably getting the best type of food for their diets, or they're trying to stretch their money. So they're going to buy things that they can afford, not Whole Foods, which is whole paycheck. Whole Foods has organic foods and has healthy foods, but it is expensive healthy food. And some people say, oh, why don't you try Trader Joe's and some of the other stores? You might have to be a little bit creative, but a lot of times you don't have time after you get through working 2 and 3 jobs just to pay the bills. You're just happy to get a sandwich, maybe something to eat to get by. So I'm just throwing that in there. But it goes on to say that the Black communities, especially the virus, has only exacerbated the well-known inequities across the nation. So if we really want to be honest about this conversation, it's been those who have and those who have not. That's what the issue's primarily about. And so those who have not and have not for a long time, Boston City Councilor Julia Mejia told the Boston Globe, COVID-19 sheds a light on the reality of a lot of us who have already known this, echoing that Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford, an obesity medicine physician at the Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School, said that we live in a very racist society, so it's not at all surprising that this is something we need to be aware and think about as we talk about COVID-19. So many officials have embraced the racial stereotypes when issuing warnings about the coronavirus, including Surgeon General Jerome Adams himself, a Black man who recently urged Black Americans to step up and stop drinking, smoking, and doing drugs, if not for themselves and then for Abuela, adding the language that some viewed as condescending, but do it for your granddaddy, or do it for your big mom or big mama. Do it for your pop. And so, however, many are coming forward and explaining how the long history of racial bias may be the real cause behind the dismal numbers. And so the specific efforts such as Wednesday night Saving Ourselves, a BET COVID-19 relief effort in partnership with the NAACP and United Way Worldwide, with Star Power and Chance the Rapper, DJ Kale, and many more, aiming to turn the situation around. Experts say decades of substandard housing conditions, lack of access to the healthful food, employment inequalities, and poor environmental conditions have left Black Americans population particularly vulnerable to this type of crisis, as Mejia said. So this pandemic was pulled back and pulling back the curtain of the deep-rooted systemic racism that exists in America right now, which people don't want to look at and they don't want to face and don't want to admit. And so that's the reason why a lot of this is happening. And so I thought I would bring this video and shed a little bit of light, because I know some people have been talking about it, but not enough. And so with that being said, I'm going to let this video go and try to do your best to stay safe. Be creative about those masks. We have a lot of things to worry about. We have rent to worry about. We have our families to worry about, our lives to worry about in terms of this virus, and now our lives to worry about in terms of wearing a mask and where you wear your mask at. With that being said, thanks for listening.